God of creation, there at the start, for the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of light. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the sky made to worship so light, I can see your heart in everything you've made. Every burning star is signal fire of grace. If creation sings your praises so loud, so will I, so will I, so will I. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, a syllable empty your void. Once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. And as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath, evolving in pursuit of what you said. If it all reveals your nature so alive, I can see your heart in everything you say. Every painted sky, a canvas of your grace. If creation still obeys you, so will I, so will I, so will I, so will I. If the stars were made to worship, so will I. If the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. For if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. If the wind goes where you send it, so will I. If the rocks cry out in silence, so will I, so will I. If the psalm of all our praises still falls shy, then we'll sing again 100 billion times. God of salvation, you chased down my heart through all of my failure and pride. On a hill you created, the light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die. And as you speak, close to life so I can find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I can see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed in a work of art called love. If you gladly choose surrender, so will I can see your heart 8 billion different ways. Every precious one and child you died to save. If you gave your life to love them, so will so will I, so will I, so will like you would again 100 billion times. But what measure could amount to your desire? You're the one who never leaves the one behind.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Night Insights. For those viewing in real time and for those watching the recorded video, I am Marion in the Memphis Man Cave, right here at the corner of information and inspiration. I know it's been a minute since we've spent any time together. My bad for pulling a Dave Chappelle on y'all. Needed a moment. But anyway, does it seem to you that we have lost the art of conversation? I often wonder what happened to being able to have a dialogue about sensitive subjects, a civil discourse, an exchange of viewpoints without resorting to defensive or offensive behavior. Is it that we were never taught to do that? Is it that we really only ever had relationships with people who think like us and act like us? Is it because we all get our information from competing sources with their own versions of the truth? Have we lost the ability to know the difference between research and confirmation bias? Moreover, what impact has social media had on communication? How has it impacted you? Have you lost friends? Have you any burned relationships because of what you or someone else posted on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram? Well, in tonight's broadcast, we're going to talk a little bit about communication. And I've asked a couple people to join me this evening because in my mind, they have insights related to good interactions with others. They are people of grace, people of candor, people of joy, and I'm eager to introduce them to you tonight on Sunday Night Insights. First, if we met in real life, you'll know that I'm not a musician, but I am bonkers about music. I listen to every genre of music, even that one that you just said. He probably doesn't listen to that. I really do. And there's never a time when there's not some song just stuck in my brain. As often as I can, I want to introduce you to creator music friends I've made over the years and share a little of their music and their shine with you. One such young man I met at a youth event in Canada several years ago. And when I met him, I was blown away at how humble and kind he was. Seriously, Raymond Toe, even as a very young adult, radiated with the joy and peace of Jesus. And that's the first thing that I noticed about him. But then the next day, he grabbed a microphone and started freestyling about his love for Jesus. And I saw the way that he connected with all the young people around him. And I thought, this guy is probably one of the most genuine followers of Jesus I've ever met. And he got bars. But since then, we've stayed in touch and I've been watching him create. And I want to show you an example of his music. And I want to apologize because I know this little bop is going to get stuck in your head tonight. I love how raw this track is and the joy that we see in the video. You will notice the joy that Raymond shows, and it's who he is. And the name of this song is You Deserve It. Now, afterwards, I'll chop it up with Raymond for a little while, and then we'll get into one more video before the next segment. So let's see if I can get this up here.
Only you deserve this. Wanna give everything. I don't wanna live for feels. Wanna live a life fulfilled. When I build a house for me. Wanna give everything. I don't wanna live for feels. Wanna live a life fulfilled. When I build a house for me. Wanna give everything. I don't wanna live for thrills. I don't need a house on hills. I just need a life fulfilled. Wanna give everything. I don't wanna live for thrills. I don't need a house on hills. I just need a life fulfilled. When I give everything to you, you deserve this. When I give everything to you, you deserve it. When I give everything to you, you deserve this. When I give everything to you, you deserve it. When I give everything to you, you deserve this. When I give everything to you, you deserve it. When I give everything to you, you deserve this. When I give everything to you, you deserve it. Do you believe you deserve it? Who else but God but you? You. What else did God put in you? Yeah. Who else deserves it but you? No one. Who else refusing to lose? Who else but God but you? You. What else did God put in you? Yeah. Who else deserves it but you? No one. Who else refusing to lose? You deserve it. Who else but God up inside on the crown of his head from sun up to sundown? Talking to God about all the problems ahead, but none of them won now. I'm gonna tell everyone all about what God has done. I'm gonna tell the world that only you deserve this. If he can come through for me, then he can come through for you. I'm gonna tell the world that only you deserve it. When I give everything to you, you deserve this. When I give everything to you, you deserve it. When I give everything to you, you deserve this. When I give everything to you, you deserve it. When I give everything to you, you deserve this. When I give everything to you, you deserve it. When I give everything to you, you deserve this. When I give everything to you, you deserve it. Say, only you deserve this. Only you deserve it. No one else deserves it. Who else but God but you? What else did God do in you? When I give everything to you, you deserve it. When I give everything to you, you deserve it. When I give everything to you, you deserve this. When I give everything to you, you deserve it. When I give everything to you, you deserve this. When I give everything to you, you deserve it. When I give everything to you, you deserve it. When I give everything to you, you deserve it.
And I don't know about you, but I just went to church. I want to introduce you to my friend, Rayto. Hey, man, thank you so much for joining us tonight. What's good, brother?
Man, everything's good. I just feel blessed all the time, all the time. Thanks for having me on, Marion.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're with us. Hey, tell me about that track. I know it's been just over a year since you dropped it, but what was going through your mind, man? What inspired the lyrics of that song and the hook?
Yeah, I mean, I usually have like a lot of different meanings in mind when I write songs. And for that particular song, I really just felt like God was saying to me, like, you deserve it. Like, whatever's about to come into your life, we have these seasons of our life where we work so hard and we're like, is something ever going to happen? And I just felt for that song, God was saying, you deserve it. And as a response, I was saying to God, only you deserve it. In a sense,
Yeah.
whatever God gives to me, I have to give back to him. So that's just my feeling about that song. And it's for everyone else. You know, whatever comes in your life, you deserve it. Give it back to God.
Hallelujah, man. That's a good word. Thank you so much for that. Now, tell me, you're from Toronto, right? I think that's where we met. Tell us a little bit more about your background. You know, who is Raymond Toe?
Yeah, I mean, I am in Toronto right now. I am in the GTA, Brampton, and right now, like, I guess I would just say I'm an artist who likes to play with every kind of music. I didn't grow up even in a musical family. I didn't grow up in hip hop. That was just something that I was introduced to, and then I took it and ran with it. And ever since I've been writing, performing, I just felt so much encouragement, especially from, you know, the Army, the Salvation Army, the community that you're part of. And I just feel like, you know, people are inspired. And the more I want to, like, you know, give up almost, like, is this really something I want to do for the rest of my life? The more encouragement just comes through different back doors and everywhere. And I just kind of say, like, I guess you never really know who is watching, who is, you know, who's really following. So I just keep doing it. And I just pray that one day, you know, people are blessed.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, over the years of just following you on YouTube and all of that. By the way, I'm gonna post your YouTube channel here in just a moment so folks can follow you and learn more about what you bring. But I have to tell you, you encourage me. I mean, I have these moments where I need little revivals, right? And that song it just kind of showed up in my mind one day, and I went looking for it, and I was like, man. It's just so encouraging. Now, one of the things you mentioned, my faith community, and I saw a lot of Salvation Army up
Yep.
on that video, man, like timbrels and praise dancers and uniforms and all of that. And it reminds me that you and I actually became acquainted at a Salvation Army youth event. Tell us how you got linked up with the Salvation Army.
So you saw in the video Tyndale University and seminary, and I was going to Tyndale at that time. And there was someone who worked for the Salvation Army as a dorm neighbor when I was living on dorm. And he was just always shilling me on the idea of, yo, this camp, you need to come work at this camp. It's so cool. Climbing, zip lining, all these things. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to give it a chance. And when I got there, the community was so cool. There was lots of traveling to be done. So I said, you know what? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep up with this. And yeah, I did meet you at an event. I met a lot of awesome people, and a lot of those people even were in that video. So yeah, the Army's been good to me. I would say the Army's been very good to me over the past few years, for sure.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you that I'm just, as a former divisional youth secretary and camp director, man, it warms my heart. And I know that there are some other folks who are watching this evening who got linked up with the Salvation Army through camp. And then there are others whose job it is to run camps and provide a great summer away for young people. And so to all you divisional youth secretaries out there and former camp staff, here is another one of your colleagues from Canada. Before we got on tonight, we were kind of talking about your ministry. And one of the things that I told everyone before you came on screen and mentioned to you is that you and I got acquainted before I actually saw you grip a microphone and start rapping. And one of the things that occurred to me is just how the Spirit of the Lord works and moves in you. And so can you tell us maybe a little bit about, I don't know, how you came to faith? How did all that come about?
Yeah, you know what? It was totally, I want to say I came to faith against my will.
Okay.
And I don't know if a lot of people say that, or, people grow up in church. I didn't grow up in church. In fact, growing up, my mother actually said to me, there was a time when I was in church and I was acting out so bad that the pastor actually had to hold on to me while he was preaching. And my mom actually never wanted to go back to church again. She was so embarrassed. Yeah, I had someone tell me in church I was the worst behaved kid they had ever seen. And so growing up like with those kinds of thoughts, I don't think church was the place I really wanted to be. So I got dropped off at a vacation Bible school. And I just remember being like, so bitter. Like, why do I have to be here? These church songs are so ridiculous. Who made these songs? Like, what is this all about? And I just remember there was one day, this was like, I guess, a Thursday. And I just want to encourage anyone, especially in the Army or any VBS, when you guys have that one day of the week where you have to share Jesus, that can be the most impactful day. That was the day I got saved. Wow. Someone sat down beside me and, I was just sort of out of it in my mind. I was totally zoned out. And someone just came up beside me and said, Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins. And I had never really heard that before. I was like, who's Jesus? Why would someone say that? Someone died on a cross. That's just so weird. Why is that even a topic of conversation? Right. And she sort of explained it. And she just sort of said to me, we've all done something that's offended God. And when she said that, I had thought about earlier that day, I had done something pretty serious. And I think I had swore at my brother and told him a couple things. And, I'm just being honest. And when I had thought about that, it was like that anger I had towards him, it really gripped me. And I was like, wow, what if God is actually angry at the anger that I'm holding towards my brother? What if that anger, that wrath is the same kind of anger God had towards me? And I actually cried. I was like, oh God, like that's scary. Like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. And I got down on my hands and knees and I just cried out to God. I'm like, God, like, I'm so sorry. I started crying so hard that it was like uncontrollable. I was just like bawling. And then I just felt in my chest and my whole body, I felt this wind, just like this wind come and just like almost like create this tornado or something. And then all of a sudden, it's like my crying just turned to like instant joy. And I got on my feet, and I just remember being so overwhelmed that I had been forgiven. I just felt like whatever was there, whatever anger, it was just gone. And I just felt so forgiven. I actually got up, and it's like instantly my mind kicked in, and I remembered a song that they had taught us at the VBS that week. And I just started to shout it out. And as I started to shout it, like this praise song, I think it went like, come on and get aboard this train because the ticket's bought with the price he paid. I just kept repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. And then no one could stop me. Like in the same way they couldn't stop me being a, mischievous that week. Yeah. They couldn't stop me from now being like happy and joyous. So I was just running around singing this song. And it was like when my aunt came to pick me up, she was like, what happened? And they're just like, like, could you imagine, right? You come back
a vacation Bible school. I love it.
So my life changed that day. And
you were how old?
You know what? I was about 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah, man, that is great. And it's so encouraging to hear that, I'm thrilled, and I'm listening as I'm watching you and I'm hearing you. I'm listening through the ears of other people who I know. We go and do vacation Bible school, and it's just sometimes like a function of the job. But looking at a trophy of grace like you and hearing your testimony about, a song about get on a train, just really impacted your life. And so thank you so much for sharing that. Hey, look, tell me something. So what is next for your music? What's your dream, and how can we help? And as you're talking, I'm going to put your information on the screen there, but I'm really interested in what God is planting in your heart and what you're up to next. Share us a little bit.
Yeah, I have a lot of songs that I premeditate them, and sometimes there's no opportunity to write them and record them for even a couple of years. Right. And so what I just do in that meantime, I just do hunting and gathering. That's the way I look at it. I build the networks. I build where I see myself 5 years from now, 2 years from now. I go and I build those networks now, because I don't know who I need to know 5 years from now. So just like when you saw them in the Salvation Army, I had to go get a Timbrels team together before the video. It's just hunting and gathering, really. Like
those are hard to find.
Yeah, and in communication, you're talking about communication. You just got to learn to communicate and find the right people who want to work with you. So yeah, I see myself doing music long term, and as long as people want to hear more, I feel obligated to create more. So.
Yeah, and I hope you do. I mean, honestly, to everybody who's watching tonight or sometime in the future, I want you to follow Raymond Toe on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify, and also he's on Instagram. Please keep him in your prayers. Send him words of encouragement, because the Lord is doing something wonderful in this young man's life, and I'm so thrilled, man. I really count it a blessing that you and I were able to meet several years ago, and you're such a shining light in my life, and that's just something that I wanted to share with other people. So the Lord bless you, and thank you so much. I'm going to share another one of your songs. I think it's called "Pray for You." Can you share a little bit about your inspiration for that? Pray for You.
Yeah, the same thing. Like the chorus has the message, and the song goes, "I pray for you so you don't go through what I went through." And, I know the things that I've done. I know the things that I've said. And I just pray that you find the light so that you don't keep doing and actually carry out where my life could have been. Right. Yeah, that's what the song's pretty much about.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Now tell me one last thing. Was I think I see some Salvation Army folks in that one too. Did you go and recruit some Salvation Army folks?
Absolutely. I mean, they're like the most mobile people on the face of the earth, so you got to use what God what
We're
God
an
has
army, man. That's what we do.
mobilize. So yes,
That's it. All right. The Lord bless you, Raymond. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, and we'll see you again soon, man.
thank you, Marion.
All right. Bye-bye.
I pray for you, so you don't go through what I went through. Said I pray for you, so you don't go through what I went through. I pray for you, so you don't go through what I went through. I pray for you, so you don't go through what I went through. I pray for you. Used to walking with the Lord now. Yeah, I'm walking with the Lord now. Used to rocking with the same team, or used to rolling with the wrong crowd. See, I never gave up and I never backed down. Never gave in, I ain't giving up now. Whether you're ready or not, giving it up that I got. Living dependent upon the word of God. Look up here, the word of God says we all fall sitting in the process. We separated, need preparation. Medication on my honor. If I'm honest, I can't live inside my garments. Heard your word and sin regardless of the promise. Look at me, he saved me. Look at you, he'll save you too. No, he won't. I'm waiting for the end to take me. Don't give up so easy. Give it up. I'm caving in. That is not you speaking. It's just not so easy to be free. It's just not so easy to be free. I pray for you, so you don't go through what I went through. Said I pray for you, so you don't go through what I went through. I pray for you, so you don't go through what I went through. I pray for you, so you don't go through what I went through. I pray for you. I've been through the rain now. I've been through the flame now. I've been through the valley of the shadow, overcame it. If you never knew it, he could do it through you. If you never knew it, he could do a new work. I've been through the rain now. I've been through the flame now. I've been through the valley of the shadow, overcame it. If you never knew it, he could do it through you. If you never knew it, he could do a new work. I pray for you, so you don't go through what I went through. Say I pray for you, so you don't go through what I went through. I pray for you, so you don't go through what I went through. I pray for you, so you don't go through what I went through. I pray for you.
Wow. Thank you again for that. Raymond, what a blessing you are. And y'all need to go and look up Ray and support his music. He's really one of the most authentic young people that I've met in the last decade, and you probably noticed that too. But wait, there's more. In Columbus, Georgia, there's a young man who is a kind of shining light to me. I admire him so much because he is absolutely unstoppable. When he gets something in his mind, he's going after it, no matter what anyone else says about it or think. And you mark my words, one day the name Matt Sanchez will be a household name. let's take a look at one of the commercials for the Matt Sanchez show.
And how do you deal with something so traumatizing at a young age?
Do you feel like that you have felt him as a mother at that point?
I developed low self-esteem from it. I thought that, when you're in a relationship, you think you got to give it up or he gonna leave you.
Right. So you got engaged, but you still were not happy, right? Yeah, were you nervous when you first had it, or when you thought?
No, because I was going to get an abortion. So I didn't want to have the baby. I went into a lesbian relationship because it was familiar to me. I had...
Wait a minute. Help me understand that.
This is a conversation you don't want to miss. Click the link to view.
Wait a minute, man. Wait a minute. Let me explain that to me.
Tamika Nicole is like, she is on her game, really.
Yeah, I can tell. Tell me a little bit about like her story. I mean, we're all going to watch the episode, but who is that young lady?
So her name is Tamika Nicole. She goes by Tamika Ingram, and she is when I tell you a child after God's own heart, that's exactly what she is, right? Yeah. She has gone through abuse, addictions, suffering with herself, right?
Yeah.
And not only that, almost being raped at a young age. So imagine.
Don't give it all away. Don't give it all away, because I want my viewers to make sure that they go and check that out. But man, I could tell already the testimony that she had was amazing, and so is yours, Sanchez. I'm so honored that you would join me on Sunday Night Insights tonight. And I got to tell you, and my wife will confirm that whenever we talk about you, I say to her, that kid's got something special. The world's going to know his name one day. And I'm serious. I'm not joking. So tell us a little bit about you. Who is Matthew Sanchez?
Man, Matthew Sanchez Williams. I got to put that on. My grandma would kill me.
All right.
Matthew Sanchez Williams is a young man that really wants to impact people's lives. I don't want to be in nobody's life and not leave some kind of fingerprint on their lives, right? So that's who I am, and I will. That is my life's work, is to do that. That is who I am. I can remember, being young and couldn't stand to see anybody cry, couldn't stand to see anybody lope down like that. I always had to figure out what was the problem. So that's who I am.
I think that is great, and I see you doing that in your talk show. Tell me a little bit about why that's a good fit for you, like having a talk show.
Well, it wasn't really planned, but I did pray about it. So the reason why it's such a good fit for me is because it's right in my alley. Like, it's exactly, it's exactly where God wants me. And I know that because I'm at peace with it. I get to spend time with people and have conversations with people that will liberate other people through their stories. So that's right down my alley. I mean,
I can see that. And the episodes that I've watched, I mean, you really know how to frame your questions, and you have a manner of approaching people that it seems that you are very constructive and encouraging to them, and so they don't get put on the defense. And I see that, and I'm so grateful for that. And I want to say, Matt, you are probably one of the most positive and uplifting people I know. I mean, usually right. Well, anybody, you're crazy, man. Anybody who knows you, especially kids in the Georgia division, they know, like they could tell when you come in the room. But like anyone, I know that you have low moments. What would you say discourages you?
Oh man, I have. I guess one thing that discourages me is that, listen, I am in a fight for my life. Listen, I have struggled with pornography for years now.
Yeah.
And this is not something that you can go to rehab for and you'll be clean for years. No, this
Right.
is a daily struggle. I wouldn't
Mhm.
say it discourages me, but it keeps me on my toes. So
Yeah.
I try to keep a spiritual practice as far as praying and getting around the right people.
Yeah.
Okay. And trying to just stay grounded. So I
Right.
guess you could say it discourages me, but it really keeps me on my toes. I
Yeah.
can't think of one particular thing that discourages me other than that.
Yeah, man, and that is a fight, and I am attuned to it. I know that fight personally, and
Man.
it's
Whew.
so good to be able to bring that into the light, right? Because these kinds of things that grow in darkness, they retreat and retract and die in the
Right.
light. And so, yeah, for you to be able to say that and to just
Yeah.
put that out there,
I'm not
it
ashamed.
lets
I'm not
yeah,
ashamed.
man. I mean, there's other young women and young men probably watching this who are like they realize that's a struggle of theirs, and so and not only young women and young men. I mean, old men and old women deal with it too. And so, thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing that. That's a good word. Now, tell me a little bit. I asked Raymond, who you met backstage earlier
Yeah.
today, like what's next for him. And so I'd really like to know what's next for you, man. What are you dreaming about these days, and how can we help?
How much time do you have? Because
Well,
really,
you got 2 minutes.
to be honest with you, everything that I've ever thought of, I've written down. So it's a list of things that I'm dreaming. I guess the intention of it and the big picture of it is to impact people's lives
Right.
in any form of fashion that I can do that. Impact people's lives. So that's what's next for me. Whatever I can get my hands on, whether that's another interview or whatever, it's got to impact somebody's life. So that's a big picture.
That sounds like why you wanted to start your talk show and be a part of that. And so, man, that is exactly what you're doing. And I just want you to know that I know I speak for a lot of people who have known you for a long time. And I have to say on their behalf and on behalf of a great cloud of witnesses, Matthew Sanchez, what's it, Williams?
Williams.
Matthew Sanchez Williams. We
Yeah.
are so very proud of you. You make us so proud.
Listen, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. I am you and you are me. So I don't take any credit for it. But thank you.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, my brother. The Lord bless you, and we'll chat again real soon, okay?
Bless you. God bless
All right.
you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Hey y'all, my name is Marion, and I've been asked to share a message with you. On occasion, our passions, coupled with the power of social media, can lead us into some serious online ugliness. If you'll give me a few moments, I want to offer you a little advice to consider as you interact with others, particularly online, during times of great cultural change. It's simple. Just be kind. This is pretty much good advice for any occasion, but kindness is needed more than ever in these days of division and dogma. And while social media possesses great potential for reconnecting old friendships and building new ones, I know of many relationships utterly destroyed by careless posts, comments, replies, and shares. So think hard about the effects that snarky, shady, or savage comment will have on your relationships, and maybe even reconsider posting it if you need to. I often run my more edgy statements by a few close friends who are not afraid to speak truth to me. And you might want to rethink posting anything online that you wouldn't say in person, standing on a platform before hundreds or thousands of people, because basically that's what social media is. Better still, perhaps make a decision to use your social media as a force for good, to positively influence, encourage, and inspire the hearts of those to whom you're connected. And no matter what you do, Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32. Just be kind. And also think about permanence. Remember, what happens on the web pretty much stays there. Even if you delete that racy post or rotten comment, 20 teens have already screenshot and Snapchatted it. Friends, your online behavior helps other people develop a pretty well-informed opinion of you. People who haven't seen you in years or ever can draw conclusions about your character based on the record of your internet interactions. Many of my friends are itinerant clergy, like I am, and we know that the moment move orders go out in April, our future congregations, communities, divisions, and departments have already begun reviewing their new leaders via their online profiles. So don't forget that every post, every comment, and every photo is subject to the scrutiny of the most casual online citizen or professional lurker. Remember, let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Philippians chapter 4, verse 5. And think about permanence. But don't forget arrogance. Sorry, I couldn't think of any other way to say it. As we all know, there are all kinds of fiction and facts flying around on the web. The world is dividing more and more because of uncertainty, unchecked speech, and uncredible sources of information. And if you spend time on the web, reading the back and forth rhetoric of impassioned Christians, personal peace can seem very elusive. Well, wouldn't it be great if you, as a believer, were a peacemaker, as Jesus commanded us to be? Well, it's a possibility. Believe it or not, there is a way to, with decency and respect, communicate truth as you see it. In fact, lately, as passionate as I am, I've gotten into the habit of running my own posts, tweets, and blogs through a rigorous adaptation of the THINK acronym before I share them. I try to reflect my way through the following questions. Are my words true and toned, helpful and holy, inspiring and insightful, necessary or at least neighborly? Are they kind and keen? While there's so much we interpret differently these days, we as the body of Christ, Jesus followers, should do what we can to keep our witness to the world intact, minding the essentials of the message of Jesus, loving the Lord your God with all our hearts, souls, minds, and strength, and loving our neighbors as ourselves, and refrain from dividing over our personal or even our corporate preferences. Friends, words carry explosive power, and we've got to be careful how we discharge them. So, as we see others arguing and accusing each other, we may want to remember the imperative to love first and worry about being right later, if ever. Thank you.
Whew. That guy had a lot of hope for the world back in 2016. Well, my next guest is someone I've known for 18 years. Someone I count as one of my closest friends in the world. She's a wife, a mom, a Salvation Army officer, and one of the best communicators I know. Not strictly from a stage, though she is a formidable preacher. But in conversation with others, she seems to know how to make people feel heard while exercising both grace and candor. Friends, I want to introduce you to my session mate and colleague, the diva, Sarah Nelson. Hey, sis, how's it going?
It's going so well. What a great episode tonight. Man, I enjoyed your guest so much. And your beard is gone.
Yeah.
Sorry, sore subject, right?
That's how you want to start this introduction, huh? So look,
well-placed communication.
Right, yeah. Let me lay down some ground rules before we begin. So you and I have a long history, far too many inside jokes, And I don't know if we've ever had a conversation where we didn't coin a new term or make some pithy and probably inappropriate observation. But look, I'm gonna need you to behave yourself around my other friends, Sarah.
Listen,
Okay?
I know it's at stake. This is important. So I'm on board with you. I got you.
Okay, I appreciate it. So you heard me say it in my little intro about you. Probably anyone who knows Sarah Nelson has experienced your manner of probing them with really very great questions. Is so natural. I don't even know if you realize that you're doing it. And so tell me a little bit, like, what do you think leads you to have such an inquiring mind?
Yeah, it's funny that word probe is used frequently when people talk to me about the
Yeah.
way I talk to them. And you know, what's interesting though is nobody has ever really asked me the question that you have asked me
Yeah.
right now. So as far as what leads to this inquisitive mind, the way I ask these questions, the simple answer is I'm genuinely interested in the human experience. I love to know how people got to where they got, what has made them think the way they think. I'm very drawn to people who I'm very different from. I love to know their stories. And the other thing, the other way I would answer this question is far more deep. And I realize, you know, we're on a schedule here, but you know, I'll just sort of briefly mention that I think part of this goes back to my childhood. I think as a young person, I actually felt very misunderstood. I think that there were ways I tried to project as a young person through humor and even through creative writing opportunities. In reflection, I think I was seeking to be heard, but I don't know that I ever really felt heard. I don't really recall ever having an experience where somebody sat with me and asked me questions so that I ultimately felt like I was understood. And so there was just sort of a heaviness that I recall carrying as a young person. And I think that has translated into a lens that I apply in relationships now as an adult. And I'm not trying to like sort of make up for something empty within myself. I don't want this to sound like it's like this self-centered type of thing, but in a way, I think that the Lord has redeemed my experience and has now made a way for me to offer this to others. I heard a quote. I think it's communication is the soul of relationships. And I think that that's right. I think that, and I even think about the friendship we share and the way we value words and the way we actually think that what you say to others matters. And that forms the connectivity of the relationship. And it's so very important. And so those exchanges that I have with people, they are important to me. I want to ask questions. I want people to feel heard. And I actually really want to know about them. And so
I see you doing that whenever we are kind of in the same environment. Usually I can see you in my mind's eye right now where you would be. It's usually at a table with someone and you're just kind of leaning in like this. And I can see like the next question starting to come out of your mouth. When I was in high school, I had a teacher who taught us how to learn, right? It's an interesting concept. She said, in order to learn well, we need to slant. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but she says that you need to sit up, listen, ask and answer questions, nod your head, like you just did it. You didn't even realize you were doing it. And track the speaker, right? So slant, sit up, listen, ask and answer questions, nod your head, and track the speaker. And that way it positions like you to hear what is being said. And it also lets the speaker know that you are actually listening to them. Are you aware that you do all those things? Is it like a conscious discipline for you? Or is it just, muscle memory for you now?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is yes. There is a conscious discipline involved, and I'm aware of that, but I've never really articulated
Mhm.
the discipline to anyone. I don't think.
Right.
Um, I you know, I think I have come to a place where I can acknowledge that I realize that, you know, I'm a good listener, and I can say that without feeling like I'm just being totally arrogant.
Sure. Sure.
But on the discipline side of listening, I don't think that it's a skill that you strengthen on accident.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've had to do in terms of discipline and becoming a good listener is that I in all of the other areas of my life, I tend to be very sort of working inside of frameworks and systems, and communication and being a good listener doesn't really let me apply um, you know, these types of systems. I have to let them be very fluid, and I have to let them be whatever it is that they become. And sometimes this is kind of a weird thing, but I have to resist being a leader. When I listen, I have to realize that I'm not necessarily there to teach somebody something. I'm there to
Mm.
listen. I'm there, even though I'm generating questions, I have to sort of make myself back off so that that conversation can just unfold as naturally as possible. And I also have to remain mindful that my role in that conversation is to apply understanding, and not necessarily always to offer my feedback and my experience or any of my well-intended answers. So there's
Yeah.
definitely discipline involved. And another thing that I would say is that as I interact with people and listen to them, I keep in mind the example of Jesus and how he emptied himself out so that he could become even more humble as a servant. And I think that that example applies also in the way we listen to others. I think we have to empty our own selves out of our own pride and our ego and our arrogance, because we have to make that space for the Spirit of Jesus to enter and help us to listen and to not stand in the way of being able to produce vulnerability,
Yeah.
and also to open myself to the reality that that conversation might actually also change me while it's changing the heart of the person who's actually doing the speaking.
Yeah, that's right. And listening to people, you grow in your own insight, and you get for free the insight that they share with you. You know, a
Hmm.
lot of times, I tell you, I think I've told you this before. I listen a lot to NPR, and one of my favorite shows on NPR is Fresh Air with Terry Gross. And every time I listen to Terry Gross, I'm like, that is Sarah. Sarah is moonlighting as a talk show host on National Public Radio, um, because she practices all of these things. Like she listens, and you can tell as she is listening and she's answering these questions, you can hear that she's actually learning as well. And that's
Mm,
probably the greatest joy that she gets out of interviewing people. And I see
for sure.
you doing that as well. And so, one of the things that I also enjoy about watching you work and talking with you is that you are quite gracious, and you also have some grit to you
Mm,
as
mhm.
well, right? And I don't mean that in like a nasty way, but people realize that you will say what you need to say when you need to say it, right? And so as
Mm,
your friend, I feel like I can fully vent to you,
mm,
and I know that not everything that I say is perfect.
mm.
How do you respond internally when you're talking to someone and like they're way off base, right? Like you want to say something. How do you, like, what are the checks on yourself? The Bible says that to be slow to speak and quick to
Yeah,
listen. What
yeah,
what's going on in your brain? What are the brake pedals?
yeah. You know, I always have on my mind the truth expressed in that proverb that says the tongue carries the power of life and death, and I've been on the receiving end of that. And so I always want to be aware of that. I also want to always be mindful that anything I say or do impacts the way I represent Jesus, my officership, who I am
Yeah.
as a wife and a mom, and I
Yeah.
don't ever want to compromise that. I'm not a confrontationalist, and I know that this question isn't about social media, but I do struggle at times with the placement of just responses on social media. It's heartbreaking what I see there at times, but I respect a good dialogue also.
Mhm.
So sometimes even if a particular comment is made and I realize it's off, I'm never really quick to make a response. I tend to back off and figure out if there's some sort of way to respond through the back door. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
um, so a lot of times what I'll do is uh, I will work toward a better outcome by asking more questions. Sometimes that lends itself to an elevated resolution, and I didn't necessarily have to be explicit about expressing my viewpoint.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'll just say this really fast. I heard some story about Miles Davis, and he was playing with Herbie Hancock, and Herbie Hancock, they were playing, it was Miles Davis solo, and Herbie Hancock played a wrong note, and it could have messed up the whole thing. But Miles Davis decided to follow up with a string of notes that made the wrong note sort of redeemed and make the rest of the music make sense. And I love that illustration because I think that that's kind of what I would aim to do when I hear something that's off track. I want to sort of be very careful about how I follow it up, because I think
Yeah.
that that's what sort of completes the narrative and I think can redeem it and make it better. And so I know that's kind of a super roundabout way of answering your question, but
No, it's beautiful. Have we met? Do you know how much I like Miles Davis and Herbie Hancock? It's like you
okay.
tailored that response for me, sis. So, but honestly, I get it. That's beautiful, and that's the unscriptedness of jazz, right? And so, if we
Yeah.
look at conversation that way, like you never know where the person who is playing or speaking, where they're going to go. But if you want beauty to come out of that conversation or out of that session, you have to kind of follow them and provide some guide for them. And so that's that's great. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
Now I know
Yeah.
you, who you are, and I know you're dying to ask me a question. So what is it? You got one?
Yeah. I have to tell you, I would switch roles with you here in a heartbeat. I would far more rather be asking you questions. I had two questions in mind, and
Okay.
I just thought by this point I would know which one I was going to choose, and
Okay.
I do. So
Mhm.
I appreciated the video that you just showed, and I have observed that those THINK, those steps, I have seen that happen in real life. I know that
Yeah.
wasn't just a clever video, that was real to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm interested in the after you've thought through and I'm thinking within the realm of social media. You've
Mhm.
posted something, and you are so careful with the way you spend your words. You don't just sort of post with empty thoughts. I know you think about it. I know you're not quick about it. It's
Mhm.
very, very thoughtful, very meaningful, and it has a purpose attached to it.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
but I want to know when you've written it out, you've thought about it, pray about it, had other people weigh in, and it's that moment you hit post. The time frame between post and like when you look at your phone the next time. I guess what I want to know is it's sort of that liminal space, that in between space, when you don't exactly know how it's going to be received or responded to. What happens during that time frame for you? Do you put the phone down, walk away, shut the computer screen, wait 10 minutes, come back and see? Do you ask Everett to look first and give you a heads up about what people are saying? I guess I just want to know what's going on in your heart and mind before you're starting to actually receive comments.
Oh man, that is a really great question. Yeah, so that's a very anxious time for me. You
Mm,
know, what it's like to be a preacher, um, with a little bit of a prophetic bent,
mm,
where it's like I have to get this out. If I'm going to take good care of my soul, right? I have to be able to share this in some format. And really, what people see or read in my my posts, a lot of them don't make the cut, Sarah. Because when I run them through that framework that I spoke about in the Think video, like they just don't, maybe it's not helpful, maybe it's not holy, maybe I'm just not in a good place right now,
mm,
maybe I cannot defend what I say through history or through scripture,
mm,
and so usually by the time I click send or post or whatever it is, um, I feel fairly confident in what I am saying, also because it's been, at least vetted by some other folks. What I do, I usually, as soon as I post it, I usually feel regret,
mm.
um, because I never want to hurt people, right? And I know that sometimes people don't read critically, and I know that some people who are reading what I wrote really don't know me. They may have seen, a photo of me, or but have never had an interaction with me, and so they may have some prejudgments based
Mm,
on, what they are reading of me. And so usually I do take some time away. I might go for a run, or I might run a bubble bath, and I,
mm,
just kind of relax. But one of the things that I am always sensitive about, and this is what I always want to come across in every interaction, whether it's online or in real time and real place. I want people to know that I love them,
yeah,
right? Now,
yeah.
I enjoy a good discourse. Like, I love it. I love it.
Hmm.
Um, but I never want to hurt anyone,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so a lot of what's happening in anyone whom I've ever had kind of a disagreement with online, they can tell you what's happening on the front side is for like public consumption, but on the back side there's private messages, there's phone calls. I'm affirming, making sure that people hear my voice and they know
Yep.
that they're not just reading a kind of a flat one-dimensional part of me, just some digits on a screen, but they know that I'm still Marion Platt. I still love Jesus, and I love them a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, a lot of times I take that time away and I prepare myself to live in a space of being misunderstood. It's my living
Mm,
nightmare. I hate
mm,
being misunderstood. And so
mm.
a lot of times it's clarify, then re-clarify, call, reconcile, clarify, encourage, bless, and that just kind of keeps going on. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Did that
It,
answer your
yeah,
question?
it makes perfect sense. And I, as a friend, and having some backstage awareness of your life away from social media,
Yeah.
I've witnessed how your soul leaps and grieves,
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
what you're describing. And I know that this isn't my interview again, but I think I would want to say here to maybe wrap up my segment. And I sense that I can safely say that I'm expressing the hearts of so many. You have blessed us tremendously, and you have through your efforts and your time, you've gifted all of us. We've all learned from your example and your knowledge, your grace, and we're grateful. We're grateful for that, Marion. We really are. My last question is, I would love for you to say to us how we could pray for Marion Platt. This is not really an opportunity that you get or take all that often in this kind of format. And
Yeah.
I'm really putting you on the spot here. I love you, Marion.
Thank you.
I want to make sure you know that.
Yeah.
But I think it would mean a lot to us to know specifically how we could pray for you.
Yeah. So I don't share this a whole lot. I'm just going to share it on the web now. But during the fall and darker seasons when there's not as much sunlight out, my emotions kind of go to a dark place, figuratively and spiritually, and it's difficult. And a lot of folks don't understand that. Some do. And so maintaining a kind of sense of emotional and spiritual balance, living in a very busy time for people who do what you and I do. Balancing all of that out is it's difficult. It takes more energy than it usually does. And so I typically, this is about the time of year where I alert my my prayer platoon to say, I just really need to be encouraged at this time. I don't have the bandwidth to answer a whole lot of questions. I take little hiatuses away from social media because it just gets too much sometimes. And so I think just a kind of emotional and spiritual stability would be my prayer request to you and to others. So
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I would just ask everybody who's watching right now that when we sign off this evening, if you would just pause for a minute and remember Marion in prayer. And I would just say, Marion, may the Lord bless you and give you peace.
Thank you, my sister, and you as well. All right.
Thank you.
I'm going. Come on, man. I say hello.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, what a great time that we were able to share this evening talking about communication. And I really love that video. I think it's such a great reminder for all of us in such a divided time that community is key. An old mentor of mine would define the term community as common unity, meaning that unity comes out of what we have in common. And how do we find what we have in common? Well, communication. The challenge for society, and more clearly for people of faith, is that unity is often mistaken for uniformity. But there's a difference between unity and uniformity. Uniformity establishes and enforces an elusive standard of assent. It says that if you want to number yourself among this group of people, you must ascribe to the established and enforced norms of behavior and thought. You must vote like we vote, dress like we dress, talk like we talk, see the world the way that we see the world, and if possible, look like us. That's uniformity. But unity is the hard work. It says, you may not vote like me. You may not dress like me and my friends. The lilt and tilt of your tongue may be different than mine when you speak. Maybe you see the world through a different lens, and you may look nothing like me, but I ain't quitting you. I celebrate your contrasts and choose to be connected to you in spite of the things that would uncouple us. Because we have something deep, like at least our humanity, and at most transcendent, like our faith, that gives us cohesion, commonality, common unity, community. There's a difference between unity and uniformity. Uniformity says you must change before I'll call myself your sibling. But unity says you must be my sibling. Therefore, I'll rejoice when you rejoice. I'll mourn when you mourn. I'll renounce my pride in order to live in harmony with you. And in so doing, together, we will overcome evil with good. Well, my hope is that what we've heard from guests this Sunday night has been informational, inspirational, and insightful. May the Lord bless you very richly this week. Listen quickly and let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer those who ask you to give a reason for the hope that you have. This is Marion in the Man Cave in Memphis. See you next week at the intersection of information and inspiration.